So it's been a long time since I've done a video. I don't know, probably over a year. And in all honesty, a large part of that is probably I just kind of wanted to put this part of my life behind me and not have to think about being sick and everything that I went through as far as surgery and the chemotherapy and everything else that went on in my life. And I just kind of tried to bury it and pretend like it didn't happen. And obviously it did. So I've only recently started to kind of address how that impacted me and how it affected me. During the time that I was sick, I really focused a lot on my mental state of mind. And I really focused a lot on trying to stay positive and trying not to let it impact me. And I think a lot of that was just burying it. And, I'm a combat veteran. I've served 2 tours overseas. And I've been in combat as an infantryman. And I've faced death before. And I kind of thought like this would be the same. That I would face it, get past it, and just move on. And it turns out that's not the case. It had a pretty dramatic impact on how I view life and how I view my mortality. And I'm a very high achiever. And for me, a lot of my self-worth comes from my accomplishments and what I do. And as a man, I feel like I have a responsibility to my family, to my wife, to take care of her. And almost dying doesn't fulfill that need. And she did an incredible job of caring for me while I was sick. And I'm just now beginning to unpack all of the emotions and the thoughts and the feelings and everything that went along with getting cancer, getting sick, dealing with the chemotherapy, and everything else that comes along with that. And I'm going to actually, I'm still in the military, I'm still active duty, and I'm incredibly grateful for the support that I've had from my chain of command. They've been absolutely phenomenal, and I cannot speak highly enough of them and all the support that I've received from every single person I work with. Every single person's just been absolutely incredible, and I am incredibly blessed to be a part of the organization that I am. That being said, I recently requested via military channels to get counseling, and it kind of has opened up a little bit of a Pandora's box. I probably should have done it sooner. I should have done it right after I finished the chemo. I couldn't have done it while I was doing the chemo because that took everything I had to function. I look back on that part of my life and I don't know how I did it. I don't know if I could do it again, frankly. And it was absolutely horrible. It was everything I had to get up. And it took everything I had to function. And it's just absolutely appalling. And I wish I knew how I got cancer. Nobody else in my family's had this. I really wish there was a cure for it, because the treatment that we've got now is barbaric. They walked me up to death's door. I almost walked through. They literally had to postpone my chemotherapy multiple times because I almost went into liver failure. And it took my body months, and I'm still not 100%. I used to be very, very physically fit, in the top of my percentile in fitness in the military. And trying to get back to that is probably what is the biggest struggle for me. Being used to having a certain level of physical fitness. And then, I didn't work out for almost a year. I got sick in beginning of December of 23, and I finished chemo in June of 24. So I did chemo for about 6 months. I did 8 cycles of full fox. And I then went out and guided hunts and spent about 45 days in the woods, which is something that I value a lot. And I kind of overdid it because was important to me. I neglected other aspects of my life to do that. And I got pretty fit there towards the end, just as far as hiking mountains. But then I got into weight training again and doing that, and I started getting injured. All my tendons, all my ligaments. I'm 52 years old, and my tendons and my ligaments aren't as young as they used to be. Plus, they endured poisoning. And trying to get back to the level of physical fitness that I once had. And, not only am I a middle-aged man accepting that I'm not young anymore, I'm also a middle-aged man that almost died, and my body is not responding the way that I'm used to. And my level of physical fitness isn't what it used to be. And I'm having a hard time getting back to that. I've suffered 3 injuries. I've had to go to the ER once for my back. And that wasn't even really pushing that hard. It was something that I had already done a month prior. I went back to do the same deadlifts again, nothing crazier, and I hurt my back. And so it's this uncertainty of my physical fitness, and now on the emotional side, not recognizing what it did to me and not admitting to myself what it did to me. Obviously most of the time I'm grateful to be here and to have survived and to have all the support that I did, but I haven't really come to terms with the impact that it had on my mentality. And I feel like, I own 5 acres of land, and I feel like there's a lot of things that I want to get done, and it really caused me to realize how many things I want to do with my life and what I want to do with my life. I don't really know what I want to do with my life, but I recognize that there's a lot of things that I want to accomplish before I die. And it kind of brought all that to the forefront. So then it created a bunch of anxiety for me because, I have to work and I have all these things that I want to accomplish. I want to get my house ready. I feel like there was a lot of things that weren't done around here, and that if I had died, that I would have left my wife with a mess, and that I would have left my family with a mess, and that I have a lot of things that I feel, you really come to terms with, like, what are people going to remember me for? What have I done? And it really causes you to reflect on your legacy, I guess. What are people going to say about you when you're gone? And not that matters a whole lot, but there's a lot of things that I want to do. And it kind of feels like, I got to work. I still have 2 more years until I can retire. And it feels like you could die at any minute. And instead of that being liberating, it's depressing. Some people say, live your life like you could die at any minute. That's terrifying. Don't do that. Because you could. But at the same time, you can't put that kind of pressure on yourself. Because I have a lot of things that I want to accomplish, and so I created this huge list of things that I need to get done. And obviously, when I was sick, a lot of things fell in disrepair. I was sick all through the spring and summer of 24, and basically came out of it in the winter of 24. And so a lot of things fell in disrepair around my house. And so now I have a whole year's worth of projects of maintenance on my property that needs to be conducted, as well as other things that I've been wanting to do for years. And then couple that with the things that I want to accomplish, the difference that I want to make in the world, and I feel this immense pressure to make a difference and to to, I don't know, it's not be valued, but it's like I feel like I have something to give, and I don't really know how to do it. I don't really know how to give it. When I try, I usually fuck it up because I'm a little rough around the edges and a little harsh. And going through cancer really brought all of that to the forefront. And it really, I was kind of like, had a plan. I'm gonna, now I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna, am I gonna make it to 60? Am I gonna make it to 70, 80, 90? I have no idea. None of us do. But when you're confronted with it in such a in-your-face fashion, where you feel like you're dying every day, and you're just like, seriously, like you think you're gonna die. And, I don't know how other people process it. I know how I did. I just kind of try to bury it and put a happy face on. But it's difficult, and it's real. And dealing with your mortality is not something easy, and it's a lot to process, especially when you have a full-time job, and you have a family, and you feel like you have obligations to people. My son just is deploying overseas. He just left last weekend, or the weekend before, or something like that. But, it's like I just feel like there's so much going through my mind, and I just can't seem to prioritize everything and put it all together and to line it out, because it feels like everything needs to happen right now, because I might not be here tomorrow. And, you feel like you want to leave your children with the wisdom that you have, because obviously, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I don't want my kids to make those same mistakes. And, being confronted with that mortality, and, so I'm glad that, I'm looking forward to talking to somebody that can provide me with guidance. I always kind of say that, if you want to get in physical shape, you get a personal trainer. I think if we want to get in emotional and mental shape, then we need to get a counselor. And it always sounds so bad, and there's so many negative connotations attached to it, especially for men. To suggest that you need counseling or therapy implies weakness. And as a man, that is the absolute worst thing. And I think it takes strength to admit that you need help. And I need help. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with in my whole life. And just the not knowing. And we all deal with it every day. Like, nobody wants to die, really. I mean, some of us get depressed and have moments, but yeah, that's so much of our life is centered around living and not dying. And now when you're confronted with it in your face, that you almost died, that you very well could have. And I don't mean like in an accident or something like that, but like, that's a trauma that just happened instantaneously. But to have this protracted battle where you're reminded every other week. And then that's the other thing with this, is that I can't put it behind me. Because I for the last year, I've been going every 3 months. I go get a blood test, CT scans twice of my whole body to make sure that it isn't coming back. I get blood tests every 3 months to make sure that it isn't coming back. And now we're finally moving on to every 6 months, yay. But I have to do this for 5 years. And just when you feel like some semblance of normalcy returning, where you start to feel like, hey, I can start to move forward now, then I have to, the week or two leading up to that appointment, it's kind of like you're just waiting. And it's like, is it going to come back? If it does, do I want to deal with chemo again? How am I going to tell the people I care about that I don't want to? And this is all stuff you have to deal with. These are all things that you have to process. Every time I go for that follow-up appointment, it's like ripping the wound all open again. Because that's the place, I go to the same office, the same building, the same stairs, the same front door, the same doctor that I was treated by. And he's great. We had our issues during chemo, but he was working his protocol and I disagreed with it. In the end, I terminated it, but he's a great guy. He tries very hard to be approachable and nice and understanding. But you can't help but in the back of your mind, it's like going back to jail. It's like checking in on probation for my life. I'm on parole right now from chemo. And you just hope that it never comes back, but you never know. And I think I need help dealing with that. I need help processing that. I need some tools. I need to know what exercises I need to do to get past this. And how do I deal with it going forward? So, I wish it was all sunshine and roses, but it's not. I felt much better, frankly, while I was dealing with it. And I think that I've neglected my mental health. I think that I've tried to pretend like I'm okay when I'm not. And I think I need to spend more time working on my mental health and coming to terms with some of the things that I need to process and dealing with some of the things that I need to deal with. I would encourage anybody that's going through cancer, that's getting treated, get therapy immediately afterwards, if not during. During, I don't think I had the mental capacity to really process it all. I think I should have done it immediately following. They do offer it as part of it, but it's not really. I think that they should encourage us more. And I would encourage you, if you are going through this and you're just coming through cancer, to talk to a professional about this, because I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for myself, and it is going to rear its head. You are going to have, if you have any kind of heart and soul, you're going to have some repercussions from this. And I've kind of tried to act like I didn't, and it's one of those things where if I just pretend it didn't happen, then it will go away, and that's not how it works. So, I'm here. I'm alive. I'm doing the best I can every day. Some days are better than others. Some days, I give 100% every day, but sometimes that's 50% of the day before. It's Memorial Day of 2025. Wearing a shirt for a friend of mine that passed away in service of our country. But it's tough. And I wish that I'm going to spend more time. I'm glad I had a few days off of work. Work was getting to be a lot for me. I have a lot of people that I supervise and that I deal with, and it's a very fast-moving environment. And it just really causes me to be really stressed out. So I definitely need to figure out I need to get back in the woods. I haven't been out there solo in a while. I really enjoy my time to myself, to be alone. And I haven't had that. And I really need time for reflection. And I haven't done that. And so I really need to get out and sort through some things. And come to grasp with a lot of things. So thank you everyone that has followed me and that is concerned about how I've been doing. I hope that this helps you. If anything, please talk to somebody. I guess that's it. Thank you.